Okay, so many people ask me, what exactly is wrong with you? And it's not a question I can answer in a sentence or even in a minute. So I decided to make a video, make it as a pinned post. So when someone asks me, I can direct them to listen to this. But it's going to be pretty long, and I can't imagine too many people making it to the end of it. But if you do, I appreciate you very much. I don't know why I'm crying. There's absolutely nothing. I'm good today. And I thought this would be no big deal to make this video, and I was fine. I sat and I made notes so I wouldn't forget anything. The second I turned on my camera, the waterworks turned on, so bear with me. Okay. So I call my story the Chromosome Chronicles. Apparently I was born broken. We just never realized until I was 48, about 48. I mean, I had been sick a lot my whole life. I mean, bronchitis to the point where, I was breaking ribs and, I just had a lot of issues. But, anyway, that doesn't matter. So, the bottom line is I have a disorder it's called CVID. Not saying COVID and missing an O, it's CVID. Common Variable Immunodeficiency Disorder. I don't have a complete immune system. And without donors, my odds of survival are slim to none. I don't make enough B cells, and I don't make enough NK cells, which are natural killer cells. I do make T cells, but without the other parts of my immune system, they don't know what to do, so they attack me. So because of that, I have RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis. I have MS. I have primary biliary cirrhosis, which is an autoimmune liver disease. I have dysautonomia. It's not always easy for my body to regulate my own blood pressure or my body temperature, and things like that. You have 5 different globulins: IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE, and IgD. IgE is allergy related, it's not a factor. IgD, nobody knows what that does, so that's not an issue. I don't make enough IgG, which is the primary immune globulin of your immune system. And I don't make enough IgA, which is primarily the part of your immune system that's primarily responsible for your upper respiratory tract. And IgM, we don't know why, but mine is super high, off the charts high, and they don't know why. I've had a lot of, my specialists have done a lot of chromosome testing and genetic testing, and they've checked all the genes that they currently know responsible for this type of a disorder, and mine isn't any of those. They know it is a genetic defect, they just can't find the gene, and I don't know that it really matters because you can't fix that anyway. I don't have immunity. Everybody receives childhood vaccinations and things, and you have immunities to chickenpox and measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, pertussis. I don't have those antibodies. I don't have the ability to make those antibodies, so I have no protection. You have to have an immune system to make antibodies. Yet somehow, the only medication that works for my RA, I made antibodies against. Go figure. And it's because those are antibodies are cultivated in mice. And when they're processed, a human antibody tail is attached, and your body is only supposed to recognize the tail. Mine recognized the mouse components, so I have anaphylactic reactions, and that's happened a couple times. So we're on a different RA infusion now, and it's not working. Okay, I did make notes because I knew I'd get confused. Let me put my glasses on so I can actually read. That would help. If you've made it this far, you're a rock star. So I was sick a lot before, but in 2015 we were in a car accident, a bad accident. We're on our way home from church on a Sunday afternoon, and we were hit by a drunk driver at over 100 miles an hour impact. She was 4.5 times the legal limit plus drugs. And we didn't realize at the time the extent of my injuries. It was from the pressure of the seatbelt. You have your abdominal, you have your aorta, and it turns into your abdominal aorta, and then off of that branches your superior mesenteric artery, and your duodenum runs between the two, and there's a little fat pad in that angle. It's called your SMA angle. Well, I lost that fat pad, so my mesenteric artery collapsed, and it crushed my duodenum between the arteries. And also right above that, in the very corner, runs the renal vein to your left kidney, which was also trapped, the entrapment syndromes. So from the time of the car accident through the next year, I lost 70 pounds. I lost the ability to eat completely. If I tried to eat, it would just stack, and then I'd throw it back up. So I got really, really small. I was severely malnourished. My husband didn't think I was going to survive. Thankfully, I have a phenomenal gastroenterologist, and he figured out what was wrong, and I had what's called a duodenojejunectomy done. And that entrapment is still there. You can't release it, but it's bypassed. However, the renal vein to my left kidney still, runs through that. That can't be bypassed. So I have a certain don't go underweight because I've been getting some of that fat pad back now that I can eat again. But if I lose it and that is crushed again, then I'll end up having to give up my left kidney, which I'd be happy to donate it. I kind of think that would be a wonderful thing. I receive so many donor globulins. I feel like, I'd be giving back, but obviously that's, not a good thing to strive for. So after my duodenojejunectomy, I had to lay on the couch for 3 months and just move as little as possible to burn as few calories to try to gain some weight back to get some of that fat pad back. And NCS, the Nutcracker syndrome, which is the renal vein, is extremely painful. And the superior mesenteric artery syndrome, which is the other entrapment, that's what caused me to almost starve to death. So after my surgery, the surgeon, he explained to me that because my body was trying to push food through a closed hole for so long, my actual stomach muscle hypertrophied severely, and he said it looked like a leather football curled over at the top. So I do still have some issues, but I am very blessed. I'm doing better than most people who have this. So after that, I was going to go back to work, and I ended up not being able to because that's when everything just really kicked into gear. And we think it was probably the malnutrition I suffered that really kicked everything into high gear. And within the next 6 months, I really couldn't walk anymore. I had developed, well, at the time they thought it was called CIDP, which is similar to MS, except it's peripheral nerves instead of central. I lost all reflexes. And there were times where my entire body, I was just complete sensory loss, and that was just miserable. It's like you're in the ocean and you're just trying to walk against the force of the water. And I was not stable anymore. I fell all the time, and I'd get hurt. So I ended up in a wheelchair. I went from, walking aids to walker to wheelchair. But I went on a medication I did plasmapheresis for 8 months. I had huge central lines. I have scars everywhere. I had huge central lines, double lumen Hickman to start, and then they felt like the pull line wasn't working adequately, so they took it out and put in a double lumen Grishong, which I wore for 8 months, and I got my plasma completely exchanged 3 times a week for 8 months. And I had a port placed also for other medication, and I have my second port in now, which is what I use for all my infusions. So currently I receive the immune globulins every 21 days from between 10 and 50,000 donors. And my cats are, okay, my cats are being bad. They want a whole bag of Halloween candy. Now they made me lose track. So, but there's a plasma shortage because of COVID. Whole blood donations picked back up, and plasma donations have not. And it takes like up to a year to make the medication I need to extract the antibodies for a dose. So I encourage people all the time to donate plasma. And many people feel like, they say, well, I can't donate plasma, I'm diabetic. Well, donating plasma and donating blood are not the same thing. Donating plasma doesn't affect diabetics. It doesn't affect your insulin level at all. So talk to your doctor about that. But if you just don't want to do it, I understand. It's not easy, but you can get paid for it in the lower 48. I'm in Alaska, and you can't do that here. So I can catch things that normal people can't catch. Last year I was hospitalized for kennel cough. I didn't think I was leaving the hospital that time. It was pretty horrible. And one time last year I was bit by a duck. Yes, only me. I was bit by a duck. It didn't break the skin, but I must have got duck saliva on my finger. I think it thought my fingernail was a piece of bread or something. But I must have rubbed my eyes and got duck saliva. And by the next morning, I couldn't move my arms or legs, and my jaws were locked. I have 7 lesions on my brain currently. They're currently inactive, so I really have minimal sensory loss. All I have right now is residual from before, and it's not a lot, so I can handle it, and I'm walking fine. My balance is decent. I made notes because there's just so much. Before I got my feeling back, I had, like I said, I have 7 lesions on my brain. At this point in time, I only had 5, on my brain, but I also had 1 on my C-spine, and it was a bad one. And that was what was causing my whole body sensory loss. And so I was going to Northwestern in Chicago for a stem cell transplant evaluation, and not stem cell therapy. A stem cell transplant, completely different thing. It's pretty horrific. And I didn't want to do it, but I desperately wanted to be better. And at this time, I was still doing plasmapheresis. Well, I got sick the week before, and I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it because, going to the hospital gets old. I just didn't want to go. And the night before we were scheduled to fly out to Chicago, I said I better get my plasma exchanged one more time because we're going to be down there for a week, and I won't. So I went in, and it happened again. And I ended up 106 degrees and febrile seizures, and they got me down to the emergency room, and they did blood cultures. You can't just do, white blood cell counts with me because my body doesn't necessarily react. So you have to do, blood cultures and see. They said it would be the next day until it grew. Well, within 20 minutes it was growing, and they said, we have to admit you. And I said, I can't do this. I'm going to Chicago tomorrow, and I explained why. And they had the head of the hospital come down and explain to my husband, if she gets on that plane tomorrow, she's going to be dead by the time you land. She has less than 24 hours to live if we don't get this. So I didn't go. I stayed. I went into ICU. I had the treatments. They had to take my central veins out right there in the emergency room, which wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, because that's where the bacteria got in. I was doing landscaping with all these central veins because I'm an idiot. And I apparently got dirt in, and I contracted a bacteria that doesn't hurt anybody else. But again, I don't have an immune system, but we didn't know this at that point. Thankfully, I have phenomenal specialists. I have a neurologist, a gastroenterologist, a rheumatologist, an immunologist, a primary doctor, and a psychiatrist, because my insurance company actually called me and asked if I was okay. And I said, yeah, why wouldn't why? And they said, well, we see all these horrific diagnoses coming through. Do you understand what's happening? We'd feel better if you talk to somebody. So I did go talk to somebody, and it was affecting me more than I knew. There's a psychological component when your body is in a 24/7 cellular battle. And had I known that throughout my life, maybe I could have hated myself a little less. So I'm trying to learn to forgive myself. So I'm what's called a zebra. And the reason for that is because in medical school, doctors are taught, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras, meaning think, what is the most obvious thing that it could be in your patient, not the most extreme. Well, when you are a zebra, they have to go the other way from extreme down, because if they miss something, they can cost you your life. So I'm a zebra. I've been in the hospital before, and I've had doctors come in my room and say, I've never really met an actual zebra before. I just wanted to come and see you. So I guess this is my claim to fame. So going back to work is not an issue for me. I'm not employable. I'm unreliable. I don't know when I'm going to get sick. The fatigue is horrific. I have 3 different medications. 2 of them are ADD medicines that, I take for energy, and one of them is to help, and it's made for chronic illness related fatigue, and they do help, but it's not always enough. And so I'm pretty tired, but I needed something to do, so I started a home business. I learned to quilt, and I went from there, and I learned to long arm, and now I'm a digital long armor. And sometimes I regret it because my equipment was so expensive, and I'll be paying for it for a long time, and it's a struggle. It would be easier if I could go out in the studio and work every day, but I can't because I'm tired, and I didn't think this through clearly, but oh well, I'm doing my best. I need people to donate plasma. There's a shortage. There are people that are going without treatment, and if I go without treatment, I'm back on house arrest. I'm Bubble Girl. I can't leave my house. I'm thankful for this app because it's given me a way to have a social life. I can actually talk to people because I'm alone a lot. There's a lot more. I don't really know what to say, but I can tell you there's a few things. What not to say to a person with a chronic illness. I mean, every struggle is a struggle, and you may not have such a chronic illness, but you may be feeling horrible that day. I may be feeling okay. So whose struggle is worse that day? Yours is. And overall, it's not a competition. I fight for my life every day. But things not to say to a person with a chronic illness, and I'm not discounting this disorder at all, but it just happens too much. People tell me, I know how you feel because I have fibromyalgia. No, you don't. No, you don't. Another one is, have you tried herbs? Okay, really? What for? To boost your immune system. What immune system? I have a part of one, but that part we have to suppress because it's attacking me because it doesn't know what to do with the rest of the immune system I don't have. So please stop saying that to people. Some days I'm pretty whiny, so all I can do is ask my friends and family just to forgive me on those days. Most days I'm super strong. So if you made it through this entire long video, I'm really thankful for you. You are just a phenomenal person, and you care. And I count on people like you. So this is my story. I'm sure I've missed some, but I probably bored you enough. And I thank you for watching. So, you're a blessing. Thank you.